9-year-old girl burst into the police station holding a malnourished baby. When she told the officer why, he burst into tears. The radiator clanked its morning symphony as Bella Rodriguez stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, methodically braiding her dark hair the way her mother had taught her. At 9 years old, she had mastered the art of getting ready for school alone. The crack in the mirror split her face in two, a constant reminder of all the things that needed fixing in the Bridgeport Tower's aging walls. 1, 2, 3. She counted each brush stroke, just like every morning, trying to drown out the sound of the baby crying upstairs. The walls in the building were thin enough that sometimes she felt like she lived in 2 apartments at once, her own on the 3rd floor and Amy Collins directly above. The crying stopped abruptly, followed by the familiar sound of Amy's voice, muffled but distinct. "Please, Noah. Please just let me sleep for 5 more minutes." The desperation in the teenage mother's voice made Bella's hands pause mid-braid. Bella glanced at the Hello Kitty clock on her bathroom wall. 6:45 a.m. Her mother would be home from her night shift at St. Vincent's Hospital in exactly 15 minutes. Just enough time to kiss Bella goodbye before collapsing into bed. Just enough time for Bella to pretend everything was normal, that she hadn't been awake since 4 a.m., listening to the baby's cries and Amy's increasingly desperate attempts to quiet him. The apartment felt different in the early morning light. Shadows stretched across the worn carpet like reaching fingers, and the emptiness seemed to echo. Bella moved through her morning routine with practiced precision. Cereal in the chipped blue bowl, exactly 1 cup of milk. She'd measured it dozens of times to get it right. And 2 spoonfuls of sugar, the only luxury her mother allowed on school days. Above her head, footsteps paced in an uneven rhythm. Thump, thump, pause. Thump, thump, pause. Amy walking with Noah, trying to soothe him. Bella knew the pattern by heart now, just like she knew that in about 10 minutes, Amy would have to start getting ready for school herself, which meant the crying started again, louder this time. Bella pushed her half-eaten cereal away and walked to the window. From her 3rd floor view, she could see the school bus already making its way down Morrison Street, stopping at the houses before the apartment complex. She counted the stops, 5 more before it would reach Bridgeport Towers. The lock on the front door clicked, and Maria Rodriguez stepped inside, still wearing her blue hospital scrubs. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, but she smiled when she saw Bella. "Mi amor," she said, opening her arms. Bella rushed into her mother's embrace, breathing in the familiar mix of hospital antiseptic and her mother's vanilla perfume. "Mommy, you're home early, just by a few minutes. Mrs. Chun offered to finish my paperwork." Maria stroked Bella's hair, frowning slightly. "Your braid is crooked again, mi vida." Before Bella could respond, a particularly sharp cry from upstairs made them both look up. Maria's face tightened with concern. "That poor girl," she murmured. "I see her sometimes in the hallway. So young." "She's 16, Bella said, perhaps too quickly. "Noah's 6 months old." Maria raised an eyebrow. "You know them?" "Everyone knows everyone in the building, Mommy," Bella deflected, a skill she'd been perfecting lately. The truth, that she'd been watching Amy and Noah through their connected fire escape, that she'd been sneaking up extra snacks and helping when she could, stayed locked behind her teeth. A door slammed upstairs, followed by the sound of hurried footsteps on the stairs outside their apartment. Bella knew it was Amy, rushing to drop Noah off at Mrs. Peterson's apartment on the 1st floor before school. Mrs. Peterson watched him for free during school hours, a kindness that made Amy cry the first time she offered. "I should get going," Bella said, grabbing her backpack. "The bus will be here soon." Maria looked like she wanted to say more, but exhaustion won out. "Okay, mi amor. Be good today. I'll be up by the time you get home from school." Bella hugged her mother once more, then headed for the door. In the hallway, she could hear Amy's footsteps already reaching the 1st floor. She quickened her pace, knowing if she hurried, she might catch up to Amy outside. The morning air hit her face as she pushed through the building's heavy front doors. Amy was just ahead, her long blonde hair unbrushed and wearing the same sweater as yesterday. Noah, bundled against the October chill, had finally stopped crying. "Amy!" Bella called out before she could stop herself. The teenage mother turned, and for a moment their eyes met. Amy's were red-rimmed and hollow, dark circles underneath matching the ones Bella saw every morning on her own mother. But unlike Maria's professional exhaustion, Amy's fatigue seemed to go deeper, seemed to reach right into her bones. "Oh, hi Bella," Amy managed a weak smile. "You're out early today." "Bus comes in 5 minutes," Bella said, falling into step beside them. She noticed how Amy's hands trembled slightly as she held Noah. "He's getting bigger." Amy glanced down at her son, and something flickered across her face. Love mingled with fear, pride tangled with desperation. "Yeah, he is. Growing too fast. Everything's happening too fast." They reached Mrs. Peterson's door, and Amy hesitated before knocking. In that pause, Bella saw everything, the weight of responsibility crushing a girl too young to carry it. The love for a baby she wasn't ready for. The absence of parents who should have been there to help. "Amy," Bella said softly, "if you ever need help." The door opened before she could finish. Mrs. Peterson, a retired teacher with silver hair and kind eyes, smiled at them both. "Good morning, girls." "And good morning to you, little Noah." As Amy handed over the baby and his diaper bag, Bella noticed something she hadn't before. Noah's onesie was on backwards, and his cheeks looked hollower than they should. A knot formed in her stomach, the same kind she got before big tests at school. The bus horn honked in the distance, and both girls jumped. "We're going to be late," Amy said, already turning toward the street. "Thanks again, Mrs. Peterson." Bella watched Amy hurry away, her shoulders hunched against more than just the morning cold. Behind her, she could hear Mrs. Peterson cooing to Noah, could hear the door closing on the baby's whimpers. The knot in her stomach tightened. Something wasn't right, and Bella Rodriguez, 9 years old and too observant for her own good, knew she would have to do something about it. She just didn't know what. Not yet. The first time Bella snuck up to Amy's apartment through the fire escape, her heart was beating so hard she thought it might burst through her chest. It wasn't the 4-story climb that scared her. She'd been climbing things since she could walk. It was the weight of what she was about to do. She still remembered the moment that pushed her to act. It had been 3 days ago, when she'd found Amy crying in the stairwell, a half-empty can of formula clutched in her trembling hands. "I can't afford more until payday," Amy had whispered, more to herself than to Bella. "And he's always so hungry." Now, balancing on the metal grating of the fire escape, Bella pulled her mother's spare nursing manual from her backpack. She'd borrowed it from the bookshelf while her mother slept between shifts, telling herself it wasn't really stealing if she planned to return it. The pages were already dog-eared at the sections about infant care and feeding. Through the window, she could see Amy pacing with Noah. The teenage mother's hair was tied in a messy bun, dark roots showing through the fading blonde. She wore the same Bridgeport High sweatshirt she'd had on yesterday, and probably the day before that. Bella tapped gently on the glass. Amy spun around, clutching Noah tighter. When she recognized Bella, her shoulders slumped with relief. She crossed to the window and opened it one-handed, balancing Noah on her hip. "Bella? What are you doing out there?" "I brought help," Bella said, climbing through the window with practiced ease. She pulled out the nursing manual, along with 2 bananas and a peanut butter sandwich from her lunch. "And food." Amy's eyes welled with tears. "You don't have to." "I want to," Bella interrupted, setting her backpack down. The apartment was small, smaller than hers downstairs. Dishes filled the sink, and textbooks were scattered across the coffee table alongside empty formula cans and dirty bottles. "I know things about babies. My mom's a nurse and I read a lot." Noah whimpered, and Amy bounced him automatically, a motion that looked exhausting. "I'm supposed to know things about babies too. I'm his mother." Her voice cracked on the last word. "But I don't know anything. My mom, she's never here. And Dad." She trailed off, pain flashing across her face. Bella thought about Amy's father, about the few times she'd seen him visit. How he'd stand in the hallway instead of coming inside. How his new wife would wait in their expensive car downstairs, engine running. How he'd leave after 10 minutes, shoulders stiff with disappointment. "Here," Bella said, opening the nursing manual. First, we should check if Noah's getting enough formula. The book says there's a way to tell by his diapers and weight. Amy sank onto the worn couch, still cradling Noah. They weigh him at the clinic, but I missed the last appointment. I couldn't get off work and the bus. We can weigh him here, Bella said confidently. My teacher showed us how to make a scale in science class. We just need a ruler and some stuff to balance it on. For the next hour, Bella and Amy worked together. They weighed Noah using Bella's makeshift scale, checked his formula measurements against the book's recommendations, and Bella showed Amy how to sterilize bottles using just a pot of boiling water, something she'd learned from a YouTube video. You're kind of amazing, Amy said quietly as they fed Noah his afternoon bottle. How do you know all this? Bella shrugged, watching Noah's tiny hands grip the bottle. I have to take care of myself a lot. Mommy works really hard, but she can't be home much. So I learned to do things. Amy was quiet for a moment, looking down at her son. My mom works at the mall now, different store every few months. Sometimes she doesn't come home for days. And when she does, Amy swallowed hard. She just sleeps, or cries, or both. What about your dad? Bella asked softly, though she already knew the answer. He has his new family, Amy said, her voice flat. His perfect wife and their perfect house in Hartford. He sends money sometimes, but... She looked around the apartment, at the peeling wallpaper and the single lamp with its crooked shade. It's never enough. Nothing's ever enough. Noah finished his bottle and Amy lifted him to her shoulder, patting his back the way Bella had shown her. The sun was setting outside, casting long shadows across the apartment floor. I should go, Bella said, gathering her things. Mommy will be up soon. Amy caught her hand. Will you come back? Bella squeezed her hand. Tomorrow. I'll bring more food, and we can try making that baby food recipe from the book. Noah's old enough for soft fruits now. That night, lying in bed, Bella could hear Noah crying again. But this time, the cries were different, less desperate, more the normal fussing of a baby. She heard Amy's voice too, stronger than before, singing a lullaby slightly off-key. Bella smiled in the darkness, clutching her mother's nursing manual to her chest. She was doing something good, something important. She was helping. She didn't know then how much that help would be needed in the weeks to come. Didn't know that Amy's mother would disappear for longer stretches, that Amy's father would stop sending money altogether. Didn't know that Noah would start refusing his bottles, that Amy's eyes would grow more distant with each passing day. But for now, in the quiet of her room, Bella Rodriguez felt like a superhero, a secret guardian angel in sneakers and braids, watching over a teenage mother and her baby boy, one small kindness at a time. Above her, the lullaby continued, slightly off-key but full of love, floating through the thin walls like a promise that would soon be tested in ways none of them could imagine. November brought early darkness and a bone-deep chill to Bridgeport. In Amy's apartment, the radiator sputtered weakly against the cold, and Noah's cries seemed to echo louder in the growing shadows. Bella stood in Amy's kitchen, warming a bottle in a pot of hot water, while trying to ignore the mounting signs of crisis around her. The refrigerator held only a half-empty jug of milk and some expired yogurt. Bills were piled on the counter, their red final notice stamps visible even from where she stood. Amy, she called out, testing the formula's temperature on her wrist like the book had shown. The bottle's ready. No response came from the bedroom. Bella's stomach tightened, the same way it had been tightening more and more lately. She moved quietly down the short hallway, Noah's bottle clutched in her small hands. Amy lay curled on her unmade bed, still wearing her diner uniform from yesterday. Noah was beside her, wrapped in a thin blanket, his eyes open but unnaturally quiet. When Bella touched Amy's shoulder, the teenager startled awake. What time is it? Amy sat up too quickly, swaying slightly. Oh God, Noah needs his bottle. I have it here, Bella said softly, holding it out. But Amy, you missed school again today. Amy took the bottle with trembling hands. Her nail polish was chipped, her fingernails bitten to the quick. I couldn't. I just couldn't today. Everything's so heavy, Bella. Even breathing feels heavy. As Amy fed Noah, Bella noticed how loosely his onesie fit now. His cheeks, once plump with baby fat, had hollowed. She thought about the baby development charts she'd memorized from her mother's books. 6-month-old babies were supposed to be gaining weight, not losing it. Has your mom been home? Bella asked, though she already knew the answer. She hadn't seen Mrs. Collins in almost 2 weeks. Amy's laugh was brittle. She left a note this time. Said she found a new job in Hartford, staying with a friend until she gets her first paycheck. Her voice dropped to a whisper. She always says that, but she never comes back with money. Never comes back better. Noah turned his face away from the bottle after only a few sips. Amy tried to coax him, her movements growing more desperate. Please, baby, please eat. Mommy can't afford to waste formula. Please. Bella watched Noah's weak attempts to push the bottle away, remembered reading about failure to thrive in her mother's medical books. The words had seemed academic then, clinical. Now they terrified her. Maybe we should call your dad, Bella suggested carefully. Just to know. Amy's voice cracked. He made it clear when his wife said they couldn't have a pregnant teenager ruining their reputation. Said I had to deal with the consequences of my choices. She looked down at Noah, tears sliding down her cheeks. As if he's just a consequence. As if he's not the best thing I've ever done. Even though I'm ruining it. Ruining him. You're not ruining anything, Bella said firmly, sitting beside them on the bed. You need help, Amy. Grown-up help. I'm supposed to be the grown-up. Amy's words were barely audible. I'm the mother. I'm supposed to know what to do. Through the thin walls, they could hear the evening news playing on Mrs. Peterson's TV downstairs. The forecaster was warning about an approaching winter storm. Bella thought about her mother working another double shift at the hospital, about how the storms always brought more patients to the emergency room. I have to go to work, Amy said suddenly, standing up. She swayed again, catching herself on the bedpost. Late shift at the diner. They said if I miss another shift. But Noah, Mrs. Peterson's at her sister's house tonight. Something about a family emergency. Amy was moving around the room now, mechanical and distant, like a doll with dying batteries. He'll be okay for a few hours. He mostly sleeps now anyway. Alarm bells rang in Bella's head. Amy, you can't leave him alone. He's sick. He needs. I know what he needs. Amy's shout startled Noah into weak cries. She immediately crumpled, sliding down the wall to the floor. I know what he needs. Formula we can't afford. Doctors we can't pay for. Parents who actually give a damn about him. Her next words came out between sobs. Parents who aren't broken like me. Bella stood frozen, her 9-year-old mind racing through options that shouldn't have been hers to consider. She could tell her mother, but that would mean admitting she'd been sneaking into Amy's apartment for weeks. She could call Mrs. Peterson, but she was already dealing with her own family crisis. She could, I'll stay with him, she heard herself say. While you work. Amy looked up, her face tear-streaked and hollow. Bella, no. You're 9. I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. Bella tried to sound more confident than she felt. I know how to feed him, how to change him. And you'll only be gone a few hours, right? The silence that followed was heavy with all the things they both knew but couldn't say. That Amy would be gone longer than a few hours. That Noah was getting sicker by the day. That they were all drowning in slow motion. Finally, Amy stood, wiping her face with her uniform sleeve. I'll be back by midnight. There's half a can of formula left in the cabinet. His medicine from the free clinic is by the sink. She touched Noah's forehead with trembling fingers. He felt warm earlier, but we don't have a thermometer anymore. I broke it last week. My hands were shaking so bad. Bella watched Amy gather her things. Noticed how her uniform hung loose where it had once been tight. As Amy headed for the door, Bella called after her. Amy? Promise you'll come back. Amy paused in the doorway, her silhouette dark against the hallway light. I promise, she said, but her voice held something that made Bella's stomach twist tighter, something that sounded like goodbye. After Amy left, Bella sat on the bed beside Noah, listening to his labored breathing. Outside, the first snowflakes of winter began to fall, dancing past the window like tiny lost stars. She didn't know then that this would be the last time she would see Amy for 3 days. Didn't know that in less than 72 hours, she would make the hardest decision of her young life. For now, she simply held Noah's tiny hand in hers and whispered, "I'll take care of you. Promise." The snow fell harder, and somewhere in Hartford, a mother lost herself in another bottle, while in an expensive house, a father deleted another unheard voicemail from his daughter. And in a small apartment in Bridgeport, a 9-year-old girl began her vigil, watching over a baby who had no one else to watch over him. The invisible wounds of their broken family bled silently into the gathering night. The next 72 hours unfolded like a nightmare in slow motion. Amy didn't return at midnight, or the next morning. Noah's condition deteriorated rapidly, his skin burning with fever while his tiny body shivered. Bella had started skipping school, telling her mother she had a stomach bug. Between her mother's exhausting hospital shifts and her own growing expertise at deception, maintaining the lie was easier than it should have been. Now, as dawn broke on the 3rd day, Bella sat cross-legged on Amy's bedroom floor, surrounded by empty formula cans and her mother's medical books. Noah lay on a makeshift bed of blankets beside her, his breathing shallow and rapid. "Please eat, Noah," she whispered, trying once again to get him to take the bottle. The formula was her last attempt, made from the powder scraped from the bottom of the final can, mixed with water that might have been too warm or too cold. Her hands were shaking too much to tell anymore. Noah turned his face away, his usual crying reduced to weak whimpers. The medical book lay open beside her, its clinical descriptions of dehydration and malnutrition swimming before her tired eyes. Asterisk sunken soft spot on head, asterisk decreased urination, asterisk lethargy, asterisk poor feeding. Each symptom was a checkbox in her mind, ticked off with growing terror. She had tried everything. Called Amy's phone until the voicemail was full. Searched Amy's drawers for any emergency contacts, finding only past due bills and a crumpled photograph of Amy's family from before the divorce. Everyone smiling, whole, unbroken. The sound of a key in the front door made her heart leap. "Amy?" But it was Mrs. Peterson's voice that called out. "Amy? Are you here? I've been trying to reach you." Footsteps approached the bedroom. Bella froze, caught between hiding and crying out for help. Before she could decide, Mrs. Peterson appeared in the doorway. The elderly woman's face drained of color as she took in the scene. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Bella? What? How long have you been here?" 3 days, Bella's voice cracked. "Amy went to work and didn't come back. Noah won't eat. He's so hot, Mrs. Peterson. I tried everything in the books, but he won't eat and I don't know what to do anymore, Anne." Mrs. Peterson rushed forward, kneeling beside them. Her hands, wrinkled but steady, touched Noah's forehead. "He's burning up. We need to get him to a hospital right now." "But Amy," "No buts, sweetheart. This baby needs help immediately." Mrs. Peterson reached for her phone, but Bella caught her arm. "Wait, please. I know what to do." A plan was forming in Bella's mind, born of desperation and too many late-night crime shows watched while her mother worked. "The police station is 6 blocks away. They'll know how to find Amy. They can help Noah faster than waiting for an ambulance." Mrs. Peterson hesitated. "Bella, you can't possibly think of carrying him yourself. I have to." Bella was already wrapping Noah in his warmest blanket. "If we call for help, they'll ask too many questions. They might blame Amy, or they might blame you for babysitting him, or blame my mom for not knowing I was here." She looked up at Mrs. Peterson, her young face set with determination beyond her years. "I'm just a kid. They'll have to listen to me first, before they decide who to blame." Something in Bella's voice must have convinced her, because Mrs. Peterson slowly nodded. "I'll call ahead. Tell them you're coming. Detective Taylor's working tonight. He has grandchildren. He'll understand." Bella carefully lifted Noah. He felt lighter than she remembered, too light for a 6-month-old baby. His skin burned against her neck as she cradled him close. "Take my coat," Mrs. Peterson said, draping her warm winter coat around Bella's shoulders. The storm's getting worse. At the door, Bella turned back. Mrs. Peterson? Will you stay here? In case Amy comes back. The older woman's eyes filled with tears. Of course, sweetheart. Now go. Quickly. The storm hit Bella like a physical force as she stepped outside. Snow swirled around her, the wind cutting through Mrs. Peterson's coat. Noah stirred weakly against her chest as she began walking, her feet crunching in the fresh snow. 1 block, 2 blocks. The wind grew stronger, but Bella leaned into it, counting her steps, focusing on Noah's faint breaths against her neck. 3 blocks. 4. Her arms ached, but she couldn't adjust her grip for fear of dropping him. The police station's lights glowed in the distance, a beacon through the swirling snow. 5 blocks. Noah had stopped whimpering. The silence terrified her more than his cries ever had. The final block felt endless. By the time Bella pushed through the police station doors, she was gasping for breath, her legs trembling with exhaustion. The desk sergeant looked up, startled. "Oh my God! Someone get Detective Taylor." Bella stood in the bright fluorescent lights, snow melting from her hair, clutching Noah with the last of her strength. As people rushed around her, she finally spoke, her voice small but clear. "His name is Noah Collins. He's 6 months old. His mom is Amy. She's 16 and she's missing and she needs help too. Please help them both." Then Detective Marcus Taylor was there, his dark face lined with concern as he gently took Noah from her arms. As the baby was rushed away by paramedics, Bella finally allowed herself to cry, great heaving sobs that shook her entire body. "You did good, little one," Detective Taylor said softly, wrapping a shock blanket around her shoulders. "You did real good. Now let's find Amy." Outside, the storm raged on, but inside the station, a different kind of storm was brewing, one that would change all their lives forever. Detective Marcus Taylor had seen a lot in his 20 years on the force, but something about the sight of Bella Rodriguez, 9 years old, soaked to the bone, still wearing her school backpack, broke through his professional detachment. She sat in his office now, wrapped in police-issue blankets, her small hands clutching a cup of hot chocolate that Officer Chun had brought her. "Start from the beginning," he said gently, pushing a box of tissues across his desk. "Tell me everything about Amy and Noah." Bella's story poured out in fragments, pieced together between sips of hot chocolate and quiet sobs. She told him about the thin walls between apartments, about Amy's struggle with feeding Noah, about the absent grandmother and the father who'd washed his hands of his daughter's mistake. "I tried to help," she whispered, her voice raw. "I read all the books. I watched YouTube videos. I thought if I just tried hard enough." In the emergency room across town, Noah was fighting for his life. The initial reports weren't good. Severe dehydration, malnutrition, and a dangerous fever. Taylor had seen the doctor's face when they'd rushed the baby in. He knew that look. "You did more than try," Taylor assured her. "You saved that baby's life. But now I need your help to save Amy too." "When was the last time you saw her?" 3 days ago. She was going to work at Danny's Diner on Canal Street. She was wearing her uniform, the blue one with the coffee stain on the sleeve. Bella's observation skills impressed him. She promised she'd come back by midnight. Taylor nodded to Officer Chun, who immediately left to check the diner. He turned back to Bella, noting how her eyes kept darting to his office door, as if expecting Amy to walk in at any moment. Did Amy ever talk about places she might go? Friends? Relatives? Bella shook her head. She said her mom found a job in Hartford, but she hesitated. "But what, sweetheart?" Amy said her mom always says that, but she never comes back with money. "She comes back." Bella struggled to find the right words. "Empty. Like something inside her is broken." Taylor recognized the description. He'd seen it countless times in his career. Depression, probably addiction too. Another generation passing down its wounds. His phone buzzed. A text from Chun. "Diner manager says Amy never showed up for shift. Haven't seen her in 3 days." The knot in Taylor's stomach tightened. A teenage mother, mentally fragile, presumably on foot in the worst storm of the season. A gentle knock interrupted his thoughts. Linda from social services stood in the doorway, her face professionally neutral. "Detective? A word." He stepped outside, leaving Bella with a fresh cup of hot chocolate and a junior officer. "The hospital called," Linda said quietly. "Noah's stabilized, but it's bad. Severe failure to thrive. They're saying it's criminal neglect. We'll need to place him in emergency foster care once he's released." Taylor ran a hand over his face. "The mother's 17, Linda. A kid herself." 16, Linda corrected, "which means she's still a minor. But she left an infant alone for 3 days. We can't ignore that." "She didn't leave him alone," Taylor argued. "She knew the Rodriguez girl was there. She was trying to keep her job, keep a roof over their heads. Where were the adults who were supposed to be helping her? That's not our department's concern. Our priority is the baby's safety." Taylor looked through his office window at Bella, who sat straight-backed in his visitor's chair, trying so hard to be brave. A child forced to make adult decisions because the adults in her world had failed. His phone buzzed again. Another text from Chun. "Possible sighting at Hartford bus station. Girl matching Amy's description seen yesterday. Asking about tickets to New York." Taylor's decision crystallized. "Give me 48 hours, Linda. Before you file anything, give me 48 hours to find her and get the full story. The storm's getting worse. They're closing the highways. Then I better hurry." He stepped back into his office. "Bella, I need to go look for Amy. Officer Martinez will take you home to your mother." Bella stood up so quickly she almost spilled her hot chocolate. "No, please let me help. I know Amy. I know how she thinks. What if you find her and she's scared? She trusts me." Taylor started to refuse. She was just a child, after all. But something in her eyes stopped him. The same determination that had driven her through a snowstorm carrying a sick infant. "Your mother needs to know where you are first," he said firmly. "And you stay in the car with Officer Chun while I do any searching. Deal?" Bella nodded solemnly. "Deal." As they prepared to leave, Taylor watched Bella pull something from her backpack, a worn medical textbook. "What's that for?" he asked. "In case we find Amy," Bella said simply. "She needs to know it's not her fault. The book says postpartum depression is a real illness, like having a broken leg, but in your heart instead." Taylor felt his own heart crack a little. "You're something else, kid. You know that?" Bella just hugged the book tighter. "We need to hurry. Amy's out there somewhere, and her heart is broken. We have to find her before the cold gets in too deep." Together, they stepped out into the storm, searching for a lost girl who was barely more than a child herself. While across town, a baby fought to survive, and somewhere between Hartford and New York, a teenage mother carried her own broken heart through the gathering dark. The snow fell harder, covering their tracks, but Bella Rodriguez had already learned the most important lesson of her young life. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply refuse to let go. The snowstorm had transformed Hartford's bus terminal into a maze of white, the floodlights creating halos in the swirling snow. Detective Taylor's unmarked car crept through the nearly empty parking lot, wipers fighting a losing battle against the accumulation. Bella pressed her face against the backseat window, scanning every huddled figure for a familiar blue diner uniform. Officer Chun sat beside her, dividing his attention between his phone's weather alerts and the child who refused to give up. "The terminal's closing in 20 minutes, Chun reported. "Last bus left for New York an hour ago." Taylor pulled into a space near the entrance. "Bella, remember our deal. You stay in the car with Officer Chun. But no buts. I'll check inside first, then we'll try the shelters on Webster Street." As Taylor stepped out into the storm, his phone rang. "The hospital." He answered quickly, turning away from the car so Bella wouldn't see his expression. "Detective Taylor." "Sir, Noah Collins is asking for his mother." The nurse's voice was gentle but urgent. "He's become agitated. We've had to sedate him twice. In his condition, keep him stable," Taylor said. "I'm close to finding her. I can feel it." He ended the call and headed toward the terminal entrance. Through the glass doors, He could see a handful of stranded travelers scattered across the waiting area benches. No sign of Amy. Then he noticed the bathroom sign. The women's restroom was in the far corner, its fluorescent lights buzzing faintly. Taylor knocked on the door. "Police. Anyone in there?" No response. He was about to call for a female officer when he heard a muffled sob. "Amy Collins? It's Detective Taylor. Bella Rodriguez sent me." The sob caught, then quiet footsteps approached the door. It opened just enough to reveal Amy's face, pale and drawn, her blue diner uniform wrinkled and stained. "Is Noah?" Her voice cracked. "He's alive. He's in the hospital and he needs his mother." Amy's legs gave out. Taylor caught her before she hit the floor, easing her onto a nearby bench. She was burning with fever herself, her clothes damp from the snow. "I couldn't do it," she whispered. "I couldn't get on the bus. I kept thinking about him, about how he feels when I hold him, how he smells after his bath." She looked up at Taylor, her eyes glassy. "I'm 16. I couldn't even keep my baby alive. What kind of mother does that make me?" "The kind who needs help," Taylor said firmly. "The kind who deserves help." A commotion behind them made them both turn. Bella had broken her promise, sprinting through the terminal with Officer Chan in pursuit. She skidded to a stop in front of Amy, the medical textbook clutched to her chest. "Amy!" Bella thrust the book forward, opening to a marked page. "Look, it's not your fault. It's called postpartum depression. It's a real illness. Like when someone's leg is broken, except it's your heart that's broken. But broken things can be fixed. They just need doctors and time and people who care." And Amy pulled Bella into a fierce hug, both of them crying now. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." "Noah needs you," Bella said into Amy's shoulder. "He got sick, but the doctors are helping him. They can help you too." Taylor watched the scene unfold, thinking about his own daughter, now grown with children of her own, about how parenting was hard enough with support, nearly impossible without it. "Amy," he said gently, "we need to get you to the hospital, both for Noah and for you. But I want you to know something. You're not alone anymore. We're gonna figure this out together." Amy nodded, too exhausted to speak. As Taylor helped her to the car, Bella walking close beside them, he was already making mental notes. Calls to make, strings to pull, resources to coordinate. The drive back to Bridgeport was slow and treacherous. Amy drifted in and out of consciousness in the back seat, her head resting on Bella's shoulder. The medical textbook lay open in Bella's lap, her small finger tracing the words as if they were a map to healing. At the hospital, everything happened quickly. Amy was admitted with a dangerous fever and exhaustion. Noah, upon hearing his mother's voice, finally settled into real sleep. Social workers huddled with doctors, discussing treatment plans and support services. Taylor found Bella in the waiting room, finally showing signs of her own exhaustion. "Your mother's on her way," he told her. "She was pretty worried when she got home and found out where you've been." Bella looked up at him, her young face serious. "Are they going to take Noah away?" Taylor sat beside her. "Not if I can help it. Amy needs treatment, support, and time to heal. But she loves that baby, and loves a powerful medicine all its own." "Like in the book," Bella nodded. "It says healing starts when you're not alone anymore." Through the waiting room window, they could see the snow still falling, but softer now, less angry. Like the storm itself had exhausted its fury and was ready to rest. "You know what else the book says?" Bella asked, her voice growing sleepy. "It says sometimes angels come in unexpected forms. Like little girls with medical books and police officers who don't give up." Taylor smiled, draping his coat over her as she finally drifted off to sleep. "And sometimes," he whispered, "they come in the form of teenage mothers who find the strength to come back home." Outside, the storm began to clear, revealing stars that had been there all along, waiting to guide lost hearts home. The pediatric ward of St. Vincent's Hospital buzzed with a different kind of energy 2 weeks after the storm. Maria Rodriguez stood at the nurse's station, reviewing Noah's charts with newfound personal investment. Her practiced professional demeanor cracked whenever she glanced toward room 412, where her daughter sat reading to both Amy and Noah. His weight's up another 4 ounces, she noted to Dr. Sarah Chun. And his feeding response is significantly improved. Dr. Chun nodded, but her attention was on the scene through the window. The mother's making remarkable progress too. The inpatient program was exactly what she needed. Inside the room, Bella had traded her mother's medical textbook for Goodnight Moon, her voice carrying faintly through the door as she read to her unusual family. Amy sat in the rocking chair beside Noah's crib, looking stronger despite the shadows that still lingered under her eyes. The psychiatric team had diagnosed her with severe postpartum depression complicated by childhood trauma, but with medication and daily therapy, she was slowly finding her way back to herself. Detective Taylor knocked softly before entering the room, carrying a stack of papers and what looked suspiciously like more children's books. "How's our star patient today?" he asked, setting the books aside. "He smiled this morning," Amy said, her voice carrying a hint of its former brightness. "A real smile, not just gas. The nurse said it's a good sign." Taylor pulled up a chair, his expression serious but kind. "I've got some news. Good news mostly, but we need to talk about next steps." Bella closed her book, instantly alert. "Did you find Amy's mom?" "Yes." Taylor's jaw tightened slightly. "She's in a rehabilitation facility in Hartford. Has been since the storm. She wants to get better, for both of you." Amy's hands trembled slightly as she adjusted Noah's blanket. "And my dad. He's agreed to help with medical bills and support payments, though he's—" Taylor chose his words carefully, still working through his own issues. "But that's not the most important news." He pulled out the papers he'd brought. "The juvenile court judge reviewed your case this morning. Given your age and circumstances, and considering the steps you're taking for treatment, she's ruled that Noah can remain in your custody, with conditions." Amy's eyes filled with tears. "Really? They're not taking him?" "No, they're not. But there are requirements." Taylor began laying out papers. "You'll need to continue treatment, both inpatient and then outpatient. You'll have regular visits from social services. And," he smiled, "you'll need a stable living situation with appropriate adult supervision." Maria stepped into the room then, her nursing shoes squeaking slightly on the linoleum. "Which is why I'd like to offer you our spare room." Everyone turned to look at her. Bella's eyes widened with hope. "Mommy, I've already spoken to hospital administration about adjusting my shifts," Maria continued. "Between myself and Mrs. Peterson, we can ensure proper supervision for both Noah and you, Amy, while you finish school and continue treatment. It's not charity," she added quickly, seeing Amy's expression. "You'll contribute what you can, when you can. And you'll focus on healing and graduating." Amy looked overwhelmed. "I can't. It's too much." "It's not too much," Bella said firmly. "It's what family does. And we're family now, aren't we?" Detective Taylor watched as Amy broke down, as Maria enveloped both girls in a fierce hug, as Noah cooed from his crib as if adding his own approval. He thought about all the cases he'd seen go the other way, all the broken families that stayed broken because no one reached out in time. "There's one more thing," he said, pulling out a final document. "The department is starting a new youth mentorship program, partnering with local schools. We'd like Bella to be our first peer counselor." Bella looked up from the hug, her eyes shining. "Really? Really? Your insight helped us understand Amy's situation in a way none of the adults could. We think other kids might open up to someone like you, someone who knows what it's like to take on grown-up worries while still being a child." Maria touched her daughter's hair gently. "Me unheld guardian, always watching over others." With supervision, Taylor added quickly. "And proper training. No more secret fire escape missions." They all laughed, the sound mixing with Noah's happy gurgling. Outside the window, late February sunlight streamed in, casting warm patterns on the hospital floor. The storm had passed, leaving behind not just destruction, but the seeds of something new, a makeshift family forged in crisis, a community awakening to its responsibilities, and a little girl discovering that sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest acts of kindness. "So," Bella said, picking up Goodnight Moon again, should we finish the story? Noah likes the part about the little house. As she began to read, her voice clear and strong, Detective Taylor slipped out quietly, leaving them to their new beginning. In his pocket, his phone buzzed with more cases, more crises, more families in need. But for now, in room 412, healing was happening one page at a time, one smile at a time, one family becoming whole in ways none of them had expected. Spring arrived in Bridgeport with the persistence of weeds pushing through sidewalk cracks. The third-floor apartment of the Rodriguez-Collins household, as Bella had proudly labeled their mailbox, hummed with the organized chaos of family life. Amy stood at the kitchen counter, mixing formula while simultaneously reviewing for her GED exam. Her medication bottles stood neatly arranged beside a calendar marked with therapy appointments and Noah's checkups. Each bottle represented a step in her healing journey, no longer sources of shame, but tools for recovery. The quadratic formula is -B plus or minus, she muttered, then startled as Noah's happy shriek pierced the air. Sorry. Bella called from the living room, where she was conducting what she called tummy time research with her youngest case study. He just rolled over by himself. Since becoming the youth mentorship program's star counselor, Bella had approached her role with characteristic determination. Her backpack now carried not just schoolbooks, but a notebook filled with careful observations about child development and family dynamics. Document everything, Detective Taylor had taught her. You never know which detail might help another family. Noah squealed again as Bella made silly faces at him. At 9 months old, he was finally hitting his developmental milestones, his earlier health struggles visible only in the extra careful attention paid to his growth charts. The apartment door opened, and Maria entered, still in her scrubs but wearing a proud smile. Guess who got promoted to head nurse of pediatrics? Celebrations erupted, Amy hugging Maria while trying not to spill formula, Bella doing a victory dance that made Noah giggle, and Mrs. Peterson appearing at their door with her signature stress-baking result, a cinnamon cake. Perfect timing, Amy said, hugging the elderly woman. I just got my practice test results back. She pulled a paper from her study materials. The big red 92% stood out like a badge of honor. I knew you could do it, Mrs. Peterson beamed. Just like I knew you'd be a wonderful mother. Once you got the support you needed. Amy's eyes grew misty as she looked at Noah, now attempting to crawl toward the cake smell. I couldn't have done any of it without all of you. Speaking of support, Maria said, producing an envelope from her bag. This came from your father today. The room grew quiet. Amy took the envelope with trembling hands. Inside was not just the monthly support check, but a letter. She read it silently, tears falling freely now. He wants to meet Noah, she whispered. He says he's been talking to his therapist about his own father, about breaking cycles. She looked up at her chosen family. What do you think? I think, Bella said with the wisdom that had become her trademark, that healing is like a big puzzle. Sometimes you find pieces in unexpected places. Maria nodded. We'll all be here, mi vida. Whatever you decide. The moment was interrupted by a knock at the door. Detective Taylor stood there, looking both apologetic and determined. Sorry to interrupt family time, but I need my star counselor. We have a situation at the middle school, 13-year-old showing signs of severe anxiety. Family in denial. Think you're up for it, Bella? Bella was already reaching for her notebook, but she paused to kiss Noah's forehead. Save me some cake? Always, Amy promised. And Bella? Thank you. For everything. The words held the weight of their shared journey. From secret guardian to sister. From crisis to family. From broken to healing. As Bella left with Detective Taylor, she heard Noah's delighted laughter mixing with the sounds of her family sharing cake and dreams. The spring breeze carried the scent of new beginnings through the open window, and somewhere in the city, another child waited for someone to notice their pain, to reach out with understanding instead of judgment. She opened her notebook to a fresh page, ready to help write another story of healing, one detail at a time. Back in the apartment, Amy picked up Noah, breathing in his sweet baby smell. Ready for your bedtime story, little man? It's about a brave girl who taught a whole city how to love better. Noah smiled, reaching for the book, surrounded by the love of a family that had chosen each other, proving that sometimes the strongest foundations are built not from perfect materials, but from hearts willing to learn, to heal, and to grow together. 1 year to the day after the snowstorm, Detective Marcus Taylor sat at his desk reviewing a file that had grown thick with updates, progress reports, and small victories. A framed photograph now held pride of place beside his computer, Noah's first birthday party. The entire makeshift family beaming at the camera. His phone buzzed with a text from Amy. "On my way with the guest of honor. Bella's already there." He smiled, closing the file. The community center's conference room was ready for today's event, the official launch of Bridgeport's Family Support Initiative, inspired by a 9-year-old girl's determination to help a neighbor in need. The program had started small. A peer counseling system in schools, expanded resources for teenage parents, mental health support groups. But like ripples in a pond, the effects had spread far beyond their original intentions. When Taylor arrived at the community center, Bella was already commanding attention, despite her small stature. Now 10, she stood confidently at the podium, adjusting the microphone with the ease of someone twice her age. Testing, testing, she grinned at the gathering crowd. "Detective Taylor, is this thing on?" The audience, a mix of social workers, police officers, medical professionals, and families, laughed warmly. They'd all come to know Bella over the past year, either through her work with the youth program or through the stories that had made her something of a local legend. Amy arrived just as the presentation was about to begin. Noah balanced on her hip. At 18 months old, he was the picture of health, babbling happily and reaching for Bella as they passed the podium. "Not now, buddy," Amy whispered. "Your big sister's about to give a speech." Sister. The word had become natural over the past year, as their bonds grew stronger than any biology could create. The lights dimmed, and Bella began speaking, her voice clear and confident. "A year ago, I made a choice that scared me more than anything I'd ever done. I carried a sick baby through a snowstorm because I didn't know what else to do. But what I learned that night, what we all learned, is that sometimes the scariest choices lead us exactly where we need to be." She gestured to the presentation screen behind her, where photographs began to appear. Amy graduating with her GED, Noah taking his first steps, Maria receiving her promotion, Mrs. Peterson teaching a grandparenting class, Detective Taylor launching the youth mentorship program. "This isn't just about one family anymore," Bella continued. "It's about all of us. About noticing when someone's drowning in responsibilities too big for them to handle alone. About reaching out before the storm hits." In the audience, Amy held Noah closer, tears streaming down her face. Her father sat 2 rows behind her, their relationship still fragile but healing, one supervised visit at a time. Her mother, 6 months sober, watched from the back row, holding hands with her sponsor. "The best part is," Bella smiled, "we're just getting started. Today we're launching new programs for families in crisis, expanding mental health services, and creating safe spaces where people can ask for help without shame." Detective Taylor watched as his young protege commanded the room, thinking about all the cases that might have ended differently if they'd had these resources sooner. About all the families that would be saved because one little girl refused to look away from someone else's pain. "So when people ask me why I still volunteer, why I still carry this notebook everywhere I go," Bella held up her ever-present observation journal, now filled with a year's worth of insights. "I tell them about the night of the snowstorm, about how sometimes love looks like a 9-year-old making impossible choices, about how family isn't always about who you're born to, but who you choose to become together." She paused, looking directly at Amy and Noah. "And mostly, I tell them about my sister and my nephew, who taught me that happy endings don't just happen in books. Sometimes they happen in real life too, if we're brave enough to write them ourselves." The applause was thunderous, but Taylor barely heard it. He was watching Amy make her way to the podium, watching her embrace Bella with one arm while Noah wrapped his tiny arms around both of them, watching a family that had been forged in crisis stand strong in triumph. Outside, snow began to fall softly. Not a storm this time, but a gentle reminder of how far they'd come, and how far they had yet to go. In his pocket, Taylor's phone buzzed with another case, another family in need. But now they had more than just hope to offer. They had a blueprint for healing, drawn by the smallest hands among them. The snow continued to fall, blessing their new beginning with its quiet grace. The last chapter of our story opens on a crisp morning in June, as Bella Rodriguez, now 11, walks up the steps of Bridgeport City Hall. She carries a worn medical textbook under one arm and holds Noah's hand with the other. At 2 years old, Noah Collins Rodriguez toddles beside her, his curls bouncing with each step. Behind them, Amy adjusts her graduation cap one last time. At 18, she stands tall in her blue gown, the valedictorian cord around her neck, a testament to her determination. Maria and Mrs. Peterson flank her like proud guardians, while Detective Taylor brings up the rear, carrying a box of tissues he knows they'll need. "You ready?" Bella asks, looking up at Amy. Today marks more than just Amy's high school graduation. It's the day they make official what their hearts have known for months, the formal adoption of Amy and Noah into the Rodriguez family. The paperwork sits in Judge Martinez's office, waiting for final signatures. Inside the courthouse, Amy's parents sit on opposite sides of the aisle, their presence a sign of how far they've all come. Her father learning to be a grandfather instead of a judge. Her mother, 18 months sober, wearing her recovery medallion like a badge of honor. All rise, the bailiff calls, and Judge Martinez enters, her face already bright with a knowing smile. The proceedings are brief but profound. Maria's voice trembles as she reads her petition to adopt Amy, to officially become the mother she's been in practice for nearly 2 years. Amy's parents step forward to sign their support, their hands steady as they release their daughter to the family that helped her heal. Then comes the moment that brings them full circle. Amy steps up to sign the papers, making Bella legally her sister, making Noah officially part of a family that crosses bloodlines and builds bridges over troubled waters. "In all my years on the bench," Judge Martinez says, wiping her own eyes, "I've never seen a family quite like yours. You've taught this city that love isn't about perfect circumstances. It's about perfect timing, about being there when someone needs you most." She turns to Bella, smiling. "And you, young lady, the peer counseling program you inspired has helped over 50 families this year alone. Do you know what we call that?" Bella shakes her head, clutching her medical textbook closer. "We call it a miracle. The kind that happens when one person refuses to mind their own business, refuses to look away from someone else's pain." Noah, growing restless with all the grown-up talk, tugs at Bella's sleeve. "Story?" he asks hopefully. The courtroom fills with gentle laughter as Bella pulls out her ever-present copy of Goodnight Moon, the same copy she read during those long hospital nights 2 years ago. "Your Honor," Detective Taylor interjects, "would you mind if—" Judge Martinez beams. "By all means. I think we could all use a story right now." And so, in the formal quiet of Courtroom B, Bella Rodriguez opens the book and begins to read. Her family gathers close: Maria and Mrs. Peterson, Detective Taylor and the social workers who became friends, Amy's healing parents, and at the center, Amy herself, holding Noah in her lap as her sister's voice fills the room with familiar words. In the great green room, there was a telephone and a red balloon. The story hasn't changed, but the readers have. They're stronger now, wiser, more compassionate. They've learned that family isn't always blood, that healing isn't always linear, that sometimes the biggest miracles come wearing sneakers and carrying medical textbooks. As Bella reads the final pages, sunlight streams through the courthouse windows, casting warm patterns on the floor. Outside, the city of Bridgeport continues its daily rhythm, but inside this room, a family completes its journey from crisis to triumph. Good night, stars. Good night, air. Good night, noises everywhere. Bella closes the book and looks up at her sister, because that's what Amy is now, in every way that matters. The end. Amy pulls her into a tight hug, Noah squished happily between them. "No, me unhell guardian," she whispers. "This is just the beginning." And somewhere, perhaps in another apartment with thin walls, another story is waiting to be written, another family waiting to be saved. But thanks to a little girl who dared to care too much, they won't have to face their storms alone. Because now they know. Sometimes angels wear sneakers, carry medical books, and refuse to give up on happy endings, even when they have to write them themselves.